Welcome to the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast, your trusted source for simple strategies to improve your mental and physical fitness. Throughout this podcast, we will discuss how you can manage your mental health by practicing mental fitness, building emotional resilience and curiosity to handle life's challenges. We'll also highlight the crucial link between physical fitness and your overall mental well-being. My name is DJ Ligori, and I want you to realize that you are not alone with this challenge. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and welcome to today's episode. All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. My name is DJ Ligori, and we are officially on episode number 120. And I want to kick off today's episode with a reference to Daily Diamond. I actually don't know what number this Daily Diamond was, but it is called The Nail in My Ass. And it was a fantastic Daily Diamond it was a fantastic story that I actually heard. And I referenced this story in a Daily Diamond that I wrote that if you would like to sign up for, you can sign up at yourdailydiamonds.com. People seem to really enjoy these stories and how they connect to mental fitness. So what I want to do today is I want to tell that story real quick. And I want to connect a lot of really valuable points to this story because I think today's podcast is a little bit of a opportunity for me to possibly vent with some things that I'm working on in my life. And my hope is that what we talk about today is going to inspire you to take a look at your life where some of the topics that we talk about can really possibly apply to what is going on in your life. So here's the story. There were two dogs sitting on a porch, and there was a man behind these two dogs. He was the owner of the two dogs, and another individual walked up to these two dogs and started petting them, you know how people are with dogs. And one of the dogs was whimpering. And the man who was petting the dogs asked the owner, he said, "Excuse me, sir, why is that dog whimpering?" And the owner said, "It's because he's sitting on a nail." And the individual who was petting the dog said, "Well, why doesn't he move?" And the owner said, "He must not be in enough pain." Now, this is a very simple story, yet it packs an incredibly powerful lesson. I'm going to close my window there. It packs an incredibly powerful lesson about how valuable pain actually is in our life. And what happens if we don't have enough pain in our life? And so you can tell by this story, the dog was not in enough pain, so he did not move. And that is a metaphor for anybody listening to this. That's a metaphor for me, that there is some area in our life where we might be in a little bit of pain, just a little bit, yet we are not making a change because we're not in enough pain. And that's really dangerous because what happens is we end up staying in that environment and dealing with whatever that pain is and simply just making it normal and making it part of our everyday routine. And we will only change when the pain of remaining the same becomes greater than the pain of actually making that change. So I want to say that again, just because it's really, really valuable. We will only change when the pain of remaining the same becomes greater than the pain of making that change. So whatever area that is in our life, it's not painful enough, so we're not making that change. So here's something interesting to consider. I've talked a little bit before about visualization and the power behind it. And every time I have talked about visualization, it has been around a positive visualization. For example, visualizing your career, where you want to go, who do you want to be, who must you become in order to create that career, etc., things like that. What if we did a negative visualization? And we visualized what would happen if we actually never make that change? What would happen if we decided not to have that painful conversation with our boss, or that painful and uncomfortable conversation with our partner? Or we kept eating unhealthy 2 to 3 times a week. And it was a little painful because our pants got a little tighter and we didn't really like a ton of what we saw in the mirror. Yet it wasn't painful enough. So we kept doing it. Right? What would our life look like if we simply just kept dealing with that little pain and didn't actually make a change? What would our life look like in 2 years? What would our life look like in 3 and 5? Would it be the exact same? It probably might. It probably might be close because we didn't experience enough pain to actually make a change. See, I'm realizing now that one of the more painful things that I've done in the past year was actually moving. I realized that I saw more for what I wanted with my life in another area. So I decided to leave all of the people I loved, all of my friends, my business partners, all of them, except for one who happened to move with me, and went to another place of the world. The pain that I felt was, how is my life going to be different in 2, 3, 5, 10 years if I stayed the same geographically? Right? So that pain officially became great enough to actually cause me to make a change. So I've realized that once I have made that change, I then got comfortable again. I then started to settle into my new environment, the new people that I got to meet, my new routines, my new schedules. And I realized this past weekend, or a couple weeks ago, actually, when I had a call with my coach, and I realized, I said, I feel like I'm not in enough pain. And because of that, I'm not taking action. I'm not doing things that are really, really making me uncomfortable. I'm doing some things that are making myself uncomfortable, yet there's way more that I can do. And I know that. The problem is that there wasn't enough pain. And so our greatest enemy is actually not pain. Our greatest enemy is actually comfort. Because comfort is what's going to keep us exactly where we are. Comfort is going to allow us to tell ourselves, it's cozy here. Let's stay right here because it's scary where we could go. It's scary the risks that we could take. It's scary the new things that we could do, the new activities we could fail at, the new judgments we could receive, and the new opinions that could be created about us if we actually began to get uncomfortable. So let's just stay here and let's just be comfortable. Now, can we see how that can be our greatest enemy? Can we see how that can actually hold us back from actually going out and creating something? Pain can actually be one of our greatest allies. It can actually be one of our greatest strengths. I was listening to a podcast a couple of days ago with Alex Hermosi, and he brought up this great rule, the number one rule of entrepreneurship, which is to use what you got. And he said, if you have a lot of pain in your life, use it. If you have a lot of shame, regret, use it. We can use those feelings as a trigger, as a catalyst, as the first step towards actually changing and going somewhere that we want to go. I remember when I was in college and I just graduated college and had just lost my first professional job in my career. And I started to have the feelings surface that I wasn't smart enough to hold a professional job. I wasn't strong enough to have figured out how to actually hold a professional job. And all of those really nasty limiting beliefs that were established as a little kid from when I broke my elbow, from when I was put into additional extra classes, all started to surface. And that was what started my lack of mental fitness, when at the time I thought it was the typical mental health challenges. And I used social media to numb myself. And I tried to avoid my reality. And I tried to say everything's fine on the surface when really internally I was stressed and anxious and uneasy as I have ever been in my life. And it got to the point where I was in enough pain to where I literally said, I need to change something. And that one change has actually led me to literally having this podcast. That one change was reaching out to somebody who I knew cared about me. It was a mentor of mine. And we ended up meeting again and again and again. And we met on Saturday mornings and Wednesday nights for about 3 years straight. And at the end of those 3 years, we decided to start a business. That business would not have been started if I was not in enough pain. So can we see now how pain can actually be one of the greatest things that we can experience, and how comfort can actually be one of the most detrimental things that we can experience? Remember, we will only change when the pain of remaining the same becomes greater than the pain of making that change. So the past couple of weeks, I've really been reflecting on the comfort I've been experiencing. And I wanted to make this podcast almost as a public announcement of me deliberately going out and finding more pain to put myself in, so then I can grow into those next levels of entrepreneurship, of impact, and of personal belief and personal confidence. And so I wanted to spread that message tonight, because there might be somebody listening to this who maybe needs to put themselves in more pain and get to that next level of whatever it is that they want to get to, because they've been too comfortable for too long and they are ready to make that change. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, if you got a little nugget out of it, if you got something that you actually might use in your life, I would be super grateful if you shared it, if you gave it a rating on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to this podcast. I'm truly grateful for you listening and for any appreciation you can return back to the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your energy. Everybody have a great week, and we'll talk to you guys soon. We'll see you. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. If you received something interesting from today's episode, we would kindly appreciate if you could leave us a rating or a review, or even share this podcast with someone you believe needs to hear its message. The Libraries and Weight Rooms brand is a division of our parent company, Acres of Diamonds, where we are on a mission to end mental suffering through mental fitness. If you would like to learn more about our mission and support this cause, please visit our website at www.youracresofdiamonds.com. Take care, keep leading, and we will talk to you soon.